out of time, so say goodbye. What is yours now is mine, and I dream broken dreams. I make them come true. I make them for you.
Welcome to Broken Dreams. Batman v Superman was released in 2016 to poor reviews from critics and much criticism from certain groups. It was better received by fans, particularly the Ultimate Edition. Yet a different version of this fight could have happened more than 10 years earlier. It would have been a much different version of the story, sort of like Smallville. That also might challenge audience members depending on what they want, etc. But there certainly would have been excitement for it at the time. It was to be directed by Wolfgang Petersen of Das Boot, Troy, and Poseidon fame. The script was written by Andrew Kevin Walker with revisions by Akiva Goldsman in 2002. Bruce Wayne has been retired for 5 years already and has lost 3 important people in his life. Dick Grayson, Alfred Pennyworth, and Commissioner Gordon are all dead or murdered. Barbara has taken her father's place, so this is supposed to be an older Batman and Superman. Clark Kent is in the process of getting a divorce from Lois Lane, and Lois does not physically appear in this script, so we never see her actually. Clark is of course sad over this and struggling with his responsibilities as Superman, and whether it is worth it or not. So the film starts off with Superman saving Freedom Monument from a terrorist attack across the promenade in Metropolis. Superman stops the monument from falling over and puts it back so that it is stable. He saves the terrorists from being beaten to death by an angry mob after he foils his plans. As he flies the terrorists to the police station, the terrorist sprays kryptonite mist into his face, and Supes drops him into the river below. Superman can't find him anywhere, but discovers a mask in the water. The terrorist was wearing a disguise. We cut to Bruce Wayne getting married, and Clark Kent is his best man. We meet his now wife, Elizabeth Miller. She's perfect, and she briefly speaks to Barbara Gordon, who is implied to have had a romance with Bruce Wayne at some point. Bruce and Clark speak about what happened, and Bruce tells Clark to be careful. Elizabeth and Bruce go on their honeymoon, while Clark goes back to Smallville. Elizabeth and Bruce are in paradise, and he goes to get ready in the washroom. She is then murdered by a poisoned dart that has the Joker's emblem. Bruce screams out in agony. Bruce does not believe it's possible, since the Joker died sometime in the past. Bruce and Clark have an argument where Clark tells him not to become the Batman again. So Bruce had basically quit being Batman for 5 years at this point. This is also a philosophical debate between the two on whether or not Superman should save everyone. Bruce tells him to leave his house. Clark meets Lana Lang at a hardware store in Smallville the next day. She's a doctor who works at the hospital now. They flirt, and she wants to spend time with Clark. She shows up later that night while Clark is building a lead box. They speak about responsibility, and Lana remembers when Clark told her his secret, thinking that he was going to propose to her instead. There's a lot of history between the two, since they went to elementary and high school together. They then kiss, and Lana stays the night. Bruce visits the Toyman and asks him about the dart. Toyman swears he didn't have anything to do with it before a toy airplane comes in through the window. Toyman admits that the Joker is back. Batman goes on to dig up the Joker's grave kills the Toyman and discovers that the body is not there. He screams in rage. He then goes to fight the Joker, and there's a standard yet wild car chase with some fun Joker toys and explosives being thrown at the Batmobile. Joker also has 2 mindless yet powerful henchmen named Jeeves 1 and Jeeves 2. The Batman chases him across the city, but the Joker destroys the Batmobile with a bazooka. Batman is injured, and Joker kicks him in the head a couple of times. He's stopped by the Jeeves, and Joker says it's not time yet, and they retreat. Batman is left in a heap. Superman traces the mask with kryptonite mist on it by using the ship that he came in. Also, Clark's parents are gone by this point as well. Lana asks him what's going on, and he explains what he's doing. He hesitates and questions whether he should stop being Superman and changing people's lives. Lana encourages him to continue being Superman, because he can't help it. He wants to help people and the world, and he has that responsibility because of his gifts. He can never just be a normal man. They kiss one last time, and she says goodbye. Then Superman dutifully stops a tornado from destroying Smallville that night. Superman visits Lex in prison and tries to interrogate him. Lex tells him that the US government created a kryptonite bomb that would explode in the atmosphere to make the air poisonous to Superman if he went rogue. Batman is listening in on the conversation and hacks into the government system to find kryptonite in case Superman tries to stop him from killing the Joker. Joker invites Batman to fight in Metropolis, knowing that this will get Superman to intervene. Batman and Superman finally fight. Batman is wearing armor laced with a non-lethal amount of kryptonite. Batman has the upper hand and punches Superman in the kidneys. Superman gets some distance and he uses his super breath to throw Batman into a forest. Batman jumps on Superman from behind and starts to drown him in a fountain. Superman tries to fly away and Batman uses his grappling hook to hold on to Superman's ankle. Clark flies off anyhow, dazed and unaware that Batman is holding on. Eventually, Batman reaches Superman's face and attacks him again. Superman struggles to fly until he throws Batman off. Superman flies to save Bruce and grabs his cape. Batman kicks Superman in the chest and uses his grappling hook to stop from falling, and he goes through an office building window instead. When Superman arrives, Batman throws a batarang that explodes in Superman's face. He's blinded, and Batman punches and kicks him again. Batman kicks him out of the building, and he falls to the ground, creating a hole. Batman reaches the ground with the grappling hook, and Superman rises from the hole. He says, "Is that all you got?" Batman says no. He then uses his Batwing to crash into Superman. The plane sends Superman flying. Superman still gets up. Batman electrifies his gloves and tries to knock Superman out, but Clark puts them together and short-circuits his suit of armor. He throws Batman backward and Superman flies toward the sun to recharge his body. Finally, Batman takes out a kryptonite arrow and shoots Superman in the shoulder as he flies back towards him. Superman is down, and Batman breaks the arrow so that Superman can't pull it out. He goes to meet the Joker on top of the Freedom Monument. Joker reveals that Elizabeth was simply pretending the whole time. She never loved Bruce, and was working for the Joker all along. She just didn't know that the Joker would kill her in the end. Bruce doesn't believe it, but Joker convinces him by noting that Elizabeth told him where they would be exactly on their honeymoon. Batman is broken and cannot move for a moment. Superman climbs the monument and is there in the nick of time, screaming Batman, and then Bruce. Bruce responds with "Clark?" and wakes up to stop the Joker from attacking him with an axe. Batman and Superman fight together and take down the Joker and his Jeeves before Superman uses his brains and traps them in ice. Lex shows up and simply pushes the Joker off of the building for failing to kill either hero. The Joker plunges to his death. Lex says that he knew Batman wouldn't have the guts to kill Superman. They have a brief fight with Lex, who is wearing an exoskeleton suit that can move faster than Superman. Batman and Superman work together and all three plunge towards the ground, off of the roof of the damaged Freedom Monument. Superman lets the dawning sun's rays hit him, and he flies to catch Batman before he hits the ground. Lex crashes and there's an explosion. When Commissioner Gordon looks for him, his body is nowhere to be found. Batman and Superman have one final conversation before walking off into the sunrise as friends once again. So, I thought the first half of the script was great, really wonderful. Sure, it's dark, but Bruce and Clark are actually friends and they have good banter. So, imagine two best friends and they're talking and there's just this really comfortable feeling between the two, and I thought that was really well done. And it's something, I mean, we've seen it in animation, but we haven't seen it in live action. We've never seen these guys actually be friends. And that's probably one of the few criticisms I have for Zack Snyder's films. That we would have seen that, if in an ideal world, we would have seen that in Justice League 2 and 3. But unfortunately, we didn't see it because there just wasn't enough time for it. So it's dark, but the Lana scenes are so well written and beautiful, I found. She comes off as charming and intelligent, and I've always been a fan of Clark Kent ending up with Lana Lang in an alternate universe. I'm sure there's a comic story where they do end up together. And of course, Smallville. I love Smallville, so so that's my sort of OTP, as it were. So that's really fun to me. Having two great love interests, etc., like Lois Lane, Lana Lang. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do, but I think most people go through life, with two or three people that they could have married, right? Um, so, and the fact that she's a doctor is great. I think she's not a reporter. Like, that's really great. I really like that. I feel like reporter is somehow overused in comic book films. So, or in the comic stories, like anyone can become a reporter. In Daredevil, Karen Page. So I was really glad to read that she wasn't that. The final battle is very long. I think visually it would have been spectacular and it would have been fun to watch on the big screen. The ending is not great. It's like the actual last 2 minutes. Very quick and a little bit cheesy after all of that darkness, but that can be easily fixed to become something slightly more epic, like a scene where the two characters save people, for instance. So I think that could have been added to this script, by Walker. I believe that the tonal shifts would have been difficult to manage in this film. As I said, it is really dark. I mean, there would have been excitement to see Batman and Superman on the silver screen together, absolutely, but it's really dark, and I can't say that the same thing that happened to Batman v Superman wouldn't have happened to this film, Batman versus Superman. So I think the tonal shifts would have been difficult to manage. It might have faced the same issues as Batman v Superman. It would have been seen as too dark or serious for many. I think, I don't think children would be watching this, so that there's a complaint there that no one under 10 or even 11 would watch this, right? Like, it's just, I mean, they would watch it, but they wouldn't be encouraged to watch it. It's just a little too dark. Also, there are some absolutely ridiculous comic book moments with Lex that just hurt the script for me. Like, just absolutely absurd. Um, I think you have to be, yeah, I think you have to have a more realistic approach to most of the Lex scenes, where he escapes because he's rich and corrupt, not because he has the precision of a surgeon or is a genius. Like, there's one scene in the script where he uses his long nail. Like, why would you let a criminal grow their nails long? Like, it doesn't really make much sense, right? And then he like cuts the back of a neck of the security guard and paralyzes him. So he's like a surgeon. He knows exactly where to cut with a fingernail, not even with a knife, with a scalpel. Um, so Lex being a genius and physically imposing is way over the top, in my opinion. It's just really, really silly. But overall, I really liked it. I liked the first half. It was fun reading it. And this was in 2000 and 2001, I believe, when the rumors really started going. And I was the perfect age for this. So I was 15 or 6, yeah, 14 or 15 when the first rumors started that they were making this film. And I thought, oh wow, like Batman versus Superman, it's really cool. And then some of the casting, which we'll get to, I wasn't sure of. But anyways, so this script, what would I give it? I'm gonna go with a solid 4 stars out of 5. I think it's well written. I think it's dark. I think there's a reason. I mean, there is a philosophical debate as well in Batman v Superman, but I think in this one, like they're friends already, so that sort of helps, in a way. Like it makes the drama like I've been through this as well. I'm sure you have. Whoever's listening to this, like sometimes you have a fight with a friend, and I mean, it heals in this script, but sometimes it doesn't heal, right? Or it takes a very long time, like 5 years or 10 years even, and that's really painful and hurtful. And I think the script does a good job of the philosophy, like, well, you're Superman, you're not even a human, so really you shouldn't be saving people. Like, you should just let it happen. And that's been a debate for many years now, right? With Superman, like, well, should you save everyone? Because your policy is to save everyone. So you would save a terrorist. You would save. a serial killer. You would save a rapist, right? Because first of all, you wouldn't know. Like your first instinct is to save them, and then you find out afterwards. And so for Clark, that's like a moral dilemma. But he can't, and the great thing about Superman is that 9 times out of 10, 19 times out of 20, whatever it is, you're saving a good person or a decent person, or even if like you're saving a jerk, right? It's like, well, this guy's a drunk driver. Well, I'm still gonna save him. Like that's sort of the beauty and frustrating part of Superman, I think. I think a lot of people like their heroes a little darker or a little more not sinister, but like Wolverine, um, Batman, for instance. Like he'll like those are guys. I mean, if you're lucky, those are guys who will knock you out, right, and like break your jaw for being, a jerk. So yeah. Anyways, I'll give the script 4 stars out of 5. I did enjoy the first half more. I think there's some fun action sequences, like that chase with the Joker and he's using explosives and toys and whatever. That's like really fun. I mean, the Lex stuff is pretty awful. Um, and I've never been a huge Lex Luthor guy. I think the mad scientist is a little outdated, but the dangerous businessman who runs for office, like political office, is pretty terrifying. Like I think that could work really well. But he's in prison in this one. So and then also the ages are a little bizarre. I think they're well into their 30s, like 35, maybe even 40 for this one. So it works, especially if Lois and Clark get married at like 25 or 26, like pretty young. Um, but anyways, so casting, let's talk about this. So I mentioned this before. So the most interesting casting during these years would have been Colin Farrell as Batman and Jude Law as Superman. So those two were heavily rumored for the roles in 2002 when I was still young. And I remember reading that on a website named movies.com. So it was a great website. Don't want to talk about too much, but it had like a buzz bin. So they would do the top 20 films and like how much buzz they would have. So number one would be like, I remember AI finally the week before it released. I think it was every Friday they do this. So like that Friday was, AI would release, right? Artificial intelligence. So they said number one finally, it's been up and down in the buzz bin. So that was a really cool idea. But anyways, um, I would visit that website and they would say, "Oh yeah, Jude Law is playing Superman, and Colin Farrell is in talks to play Batman." And they never, they did have meetings. Obviously, Jude Law confirmed this, by the way. Like he tried on the Superman suit. I don't know about Farrell, but um, he did try on the suit and he declined, and the rest is history, obviously. Um, but I didn't really know what to make of the rumors at the time. I knew they were both great actors, but even after gaining muscle, like they're both not the biggest guys in general, right? I think Jude is 5'10" or 5'11", same as Farrell, which is fine. But, I mean, gaining 20 pounds of muscle, I mean, you look pretty good. But I don't know if they would have fit the role that well aesthetically, especially Jude. I think Jude, I don't know, Jude with dark hair looks a little sinister. I think the blonde works much better for him, like the natural hair color he has, like sandy blonde. And he's a very attractive man, but for Superman, like maybe not, right? Like that'd be a different take on Superman. Sort of like, Nicolas Cage as Superman. Like that's a pretty funny, not funny, but I like Nicolas Cage, by the way. But like a sort of slightly out of the box choice. And I've seen like concept art of like just I don't know if it's concept art actually, just art of like Nicolas Cage as Clark Kent and Superman, and it's like fun. It's like, oh yeah, this could work. And I think Jude would have done well, and I think Colin would have done well because they're both really good actors. But that would have been really, really cool. And both characters are alive at the end, so obviously, if it's successful, they would do World's Finest for the next one, or even a Justice League film if they started off from this point. So yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers has been wanting this. DC has been wanting this for a long time. For the past 20 years, they've been wanting a Batman v Superman film. If obviously it came out in 2016, Wow, that was 7 years ago. I can't believe it. Insane. But anyways, years later, so I'm sure they would have done fine. A little bit later on, after those two passed, I think Christian Bale and Josh Hartnett would also have been considered for Batman and Superman. Hartnett turned it down. There's a very, just recently, I think this was like a few weeks ago or a month ago, an image of Josh Hartnett in the Superman costume popped up. Um, I just saw Hartnett in Oppenheimer actually, and he's huge. I, I mean, he looks. I know he's older now, so obviously the meat, for lack of a better term, sits on your body a little bit differently than when you were like 20 or 25, as I'm discovering right now in my 30s. But yeah, he's a tall boy. He's a tall man. I don't want to look up his I don't want to waste time and look up his height, but he's like over 6 feet, so 6'1", 6'2" even. He's pretty tall. Um, and I like at first I'm like, you know what? I see it a little bit. I mean, I think he looks like Batman, to be honest. He has the dark hair. I mean, Superman's dark hair too, but I don't know. It just seems more Batman to me. But it's sort of like a strange thing where actors can sort of play both roles almost. Brendan Fraser met director Brett Ratner for the role of Superman later on as well for a different project. So this would have been, I think, Flyby, Superman Flyby. I'm not sure. Jude Law confirmed that he tried on the costume for Ratner like 10 years later. He was on Stephen Colbert and he confirmed it. So there's truth to rumors. Where there's smoke, there's fire, folks, right? So it would have been cool to see this film much earlier, and there's a lot to like in this script, such as two heroes being friends and spending time together. Really quickly, I didn't make any notes, but really quickly, I think Fraser could have done it. Also, Fraser's tall as well. I think he's 6'1" or 6'2" or 6'3", somewhere around there. And if you watch The Mummy, he's like a brick house, right? He's pretty. If he got into really great shape, or George of the Jungle, like he's quite a large fellow. And I think Brendan has that sensitivity. I'm just going off the top of my head right now. I forgot to write notes about Brendan Fraser, but I think he has the sensitivity where he would have done really well with Superman. But I think it had to be quite a young Brendan, so like late 20s at the earliest. Um, Late 20s, early 30s. I think that was his Mummy era. Um, Again, does he scream Superman like Cavill does to me? Not necessarily, but hair and makeup can do a lot because I swear to God, the first image I saw of Cavill was just a photo shoot, black and white photo shoot, and I remember looking at that photo and I knew that he was going to play Superman, so he had already been cast. This is Cavill. And I looked at the photo and said, that looks like James Bond. So, and that was a very young photo shoot. I think it was like early 20s and he looked amazing, obviously. But I said, that guy doesn't really look like Superman. No, his hair was a little bit shorter in that image. And anyways, so I might find that image and just post it up here. But yeah, hair and makeup can do a lot. So I think Fraser would have done well, probably better than Law, to be honest, just because of the size and height. But also Fraser can play a geek, right, or a nerd or a loser, as proven by Bedazzled and some of his other work. Um, so yeah, that being stated, I'm happy what we received with Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman. I know I am in the 40th percentile for that. You know, a very vocal minority, I will say. I know a lot of people, especially the Ultimate Edition, I know a lot of people like that version and think it's a better film than the theatrical cut, which it is. It's a slightly better film, like everything is just edited better, it makes more sense, etc., etc. So, everything happens for a reason. We got Henry Cavill as Superman, which is awesome. I love Cavill as Superman. I think he's the best version that we could have had for this generation. I think Christopher Reeve is uh, probably the best Clark Kent slash Superman combo. combination. I think Cavill's Clark wasn't explored enough or wasn't given enough to do. It was just a little bit too normal, like everyday man, which he's supposed to be. I get that. I understand that. But I think maybe give him a little bit more to do. But I mean, Cavill's Superman is incredible. Probably my favorite Superman. Um, when he's in that costume, especially in Man of Steel, it's just fantastic. Um, yeah, so that's it. We got Cavill as Superman, Affleck as Batman. Really interesting film, actually. It's a very difficult film to make, as proven by this script. Like this is funny. I might do Justice League. I will do. Sorry, not might. I will do Justice League Mortal because I've read that script as well. This was like 5 years ago. Um, but I'll refresh and read the synopsis again, so I remember what the heck's going on. Um, but yeah, there. It's funny that WB always does that. Not always, but like tries to just jump into it. And I know they rush Snyder into doing a Justice League film. Um, but yeah, it is difficult. Like just starting with Batman v Superman, and it's almost like the reverse. It's like reverse engineering. So starting with that, or starting with a Justice League film. So you're starting with a Batman v Superman film because you've had these sort of solo films for Batman and Superman at that point. This was the early 2000s. So you've had that. So everyone knows the characters, and it would have worked because everyone knows the characters, make them friends, but we don't see, we see, I mean, just a minute or two of World's Finest. But we see them fight right away, and then like afterwards you would do a sequel with them as World's Finest or more solo films. So it's sort of like reverse engineering them, which is interesting. And then the Justice League Mortal would also be the same, like reverse engineering them. Like, okay, start with a Justice League film. You have 7 members, uh, and then we would do solo films for everyone: Batman, Superman. This was in 2008, I believe, and Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, uh, etc. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's about it. I don't want to go too long here, so that's it. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching this and listening to my voice. I really appreciate it. I'm trying something new. I hope you like it. And this is actually much shorter than I thought it'd be. I don't even think I hit half an hour. All right, that's it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, doing this is really fun. Reading the scripts is really fun because it's sort of like an alternate universe. It's like, wow, broken dreams, man. Like it could have happened, but it didn't. And like I said, everything happens for a reason. Usually, in terms of career, especially, and business and film and art, like it's not the end of the world. So it's okay. So that is it. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Follow me on Letterboxd at the Cinephile 86. Thank you guys so much. This is really fun to do. I will do more, and hopefully it catches on. Let me know if you want me to do any, if there's any films or projects that are broken dreams for you. Like there's something that you were really looking forward to. For me, it's like Man of Steel 2 with Henry. The Man from Uncle 2 with Henry. I'm trying to think. Uh, I think, Spider-Man 4 with Toby would have been cool to see. But we had 3 films, so that one's not too heartbreaking. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon. Thank you guys. Bye.